How many people in the room that are 50 and over in age? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many between 40 and 50? How about 25? Okay, how many between 30 and 40? Okay, great. So, it's always been fun. There was a point in time, because I'm short, I always kept on feeling like I was the youngest person in the room, and ironically, for a lot of time I was. Now I find myself to be one of the oldest people in the room. And so fortunately, that gives me the ability to talk about things like tomorrow, right? And so you would wonder, how does an old guy, right, who grew up in the world before there was anything from computers or mobile phones or anything, have the ability to talk about the future? Steve, what do you think? It's a good question, right?
Good question.
So I always ask that question, and then people look at me and go, oh boy, that is a good question. How can you? Well, here's why. When you've lived a little too long, you suddenly realize that the past actually does inform the future, okay? And even though all of the financial services companies that, because of lawyers, tell you that, past performance does not guarantee future returns, in reality, in the world of consumers, in the world of customers, in the world of brands, in the world of marketing, actually the past does inform us about the future. I'm going to start a little bit early in the era, some of us were born in, old people, and then we'll talk about the era some of you young people actually grew up in, and then, but we'll also go back about 500 or so million years in the past to try and connect with brands, okay? So I hopefully over the next 30 minutes, we'll take a little bit of a journey and have some fun together. Is that okay? Great. And because I know, one last question, how many researchers in the room? Great. And because I was very clearly told there are a lot of research professionals here, most research professionals, I was told, are very left brain, which I don't believe. I think the best ones are whole brain, right? So I was asked to be very clear about some of the data and make sure that I put a lot of data in, right? So there will be some graphs and charts. I hope you guys enjoy seeing them, right? It took me a long time to build them. They're not my favorite things to do. Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with the last thing. People who 50 and over that grew up in the world of Mad Men, right? I mean, I actually did start my career at the back end of the Mad Men era. I missed all of those 3 marketing lunches. I missed all of the stuff that Don Draper did in all of the episodes that made the business famous. But that was one of the most powerful periods of time when the world of marketing, as we knew it, developed, right? Procter & Gamble, 30-minute infomercials, which then became 30-minute programming on television. Advertising agencies were the center of the strategic building of brands. Why? Because we were all living in a homogeneous environment, right? Brands could do whatever they wanted. Brands were new, products were new, innovation was new, and we lived in that. Well, 1984, and I'm ascribing this to 2 events. Event number 1 was the fact that Steve Jobs and Paul launched a commercial with Lee Clout in 1984. Now it's ironic, right? For me, how many of you remember the 1984 commercial from Apple? Well, 3 of the old guys, 4 of them, right? Well, I was in a meeting yesterday, it's a couple of days ago with some clients here, and terrific marketing team, and I just talked about the 1984 commercial like I'm doing right now, expecting everybody to know what I'm talking about, because that's one of the fundamental big things that created the whole thing in marketing, but they didn't. So 1984 was when Apple launched one spot on the Super Bowl in February that changed the world of computing and made Microsoft have to operate like a follower versus a leader. But that was around the time that data became a critical part of all of the marketing, and the guy who's used data most effectively to become one of the most valuable people and companies is Jeff Bezos, right? And so what the 2 things that defined the world of marketing at that point in time were very simple. The 60s to the 80s were the world built around awareness and interest, right? And by creating brands. And then the period after that fundamentally became about creating desire and action and driving business results and ROI, if you will, by delivering offers, right? And so the more data we got about our customers over the last 2.5, 3 decades, we used to say, let me send you more offers. I know I count all of my emails every day as part, and so over the last 365 days, on an average, I get 78 unsolicited emails. And out of the 78 unsolicited emails, there's 75 of them that fundamentally are offers giving me money off from brands that I've already transacted with. The three, out of the three, there are two of them from Amazon, which come in and basically tell me that I should buy other things from them based on what I bought from them in the past. Okay? And I'll talk about them and what they're breaking up. And then the final one is actually from somebody like my car dealership or my airline, saying, tell me how I did yesterday, right? So if you think about the number of emails you get with offers, that was what that got created. And what that means from a brand standpoint is we own the brand and we own the brand at that point in time in the first era of marketing called the attention economy. But what happened was we tried to then regain control and we lost it when the consumers got power. 541, 42 million years ago, we were going through a similar transition. If it wasn't for a very short period of time in that complex era, 24 million years in the span of time was like a blink of an eyelid. An explosion happened that's been called the Cambrian explosion, and that one explosion fundamentally is the only reason we're all here today. Prior to that, the world happily survived and plodded along with unicellular organisms. Boom! And we had multicellular organisms within that 24 million years. And next thing you know, you got mammals, you got birds, you got animals, you got human beings. Now, if you were within that Cambrian explosion, right, you would be freaking out, like we do. Oh my God, look at how much data we have. Look at all these channels, right? I mean, I could stand in front of a telex machine and go ahead to learn the code, right? How many of you know how to do SOS with that thing that I learned in the Boy Scouts? Because you didn't never had a cell phone, right? That worked everywhere. And so it's stuff like this. It's fascinating. My team put together some data and said, Zay, why don't you talk about, how many Facebook likes there are, 4.2 million, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, not anymore. Because I tried to do it at one conference, and every number I said, and I'd actually gotten the numbers the day before, were refuted by this one gentleman in the audience who actually had numbers as of that time. And then I go, how the hell do you know this much? And he goes, well, come outside after the call. So I went out, and he represents a company that collects the data, and there's a big screen outside that was literally like a ticker going, okay. And he had that on his iPad. So in the middle of my rhetoric, my rant, whatever you want to call it, guess what? He was correcting me. So I'm not going to use it. But we know the world has become unbelievably complex, especially for chief marketing officers. If you know Jeff used to be the CMO of Eastman Kodak. That was the last gig before he gave up on being a marketeer, and then became really smart and became a consultant doing unbelievably well now. But this is what he said at one of the conferences that he and I were in about a decade ago. And he goes, this shit is scary. Because there's so much going on for marketeers, and there's so much change, and there's so many different points of views, so many different experts, that at the end of the day, it's very hard for them to figure out what to do. So welcome to the inside economy, folks. It's an economy that's built because of the explosion that we're going through, our version of the Cambrian. And the way to think about this on a simplistic level as we go through this is, in one era we were building awareness and interest so we could build brand. Then we were kind of driving desire action to get transactions, right? We are now living in a world, call it back to the future again, where basically we're dealing with customers and we're dealing with consumers and we're dealing with prospects, but we're dealing with them from a different lens and a different point of view. In this economy, the only way to survive, the only way to thrive is by earning loyalty from your customers in a way that we can build and fulfill their needs in a way that nobody else does. Okay? And this is and the way the brands need to do it today is to share the control of what they think they own, which they don't, right? Which is the brand value. So if you go to this era, right, what it requires you to think about doing is you need to understand loyalty in a new way. You can't think about loyalty the way everybody does, right? Prior to this company, I ran Epsilon. I sold my last company, a company called Epsilon. How many know Epsilon? Largest digital data CRM company in the world, right? grounded on huge data, huge transactions, and Epsilon built a lot of loyalty programs, and at the end of the day, when you look at those, they're not loyalty programs, they're frequency marketing programs, anything that just forces you to kind of, spend money. The only way I will treat you better is if you just spend a lot more money with me. That's not loyalty. That's, I grew up in India, we call them bribes. Okay? But it's a different issue. From a brand standpoint, that's not sustainable loyalty. You need to build loyalty, which means you need a new point of view and you need a new way of earning the loyalty. So, everybody's here. Look, I'm in research. I love the rhetoric. What does this really mean? What do I do with it? How can I help my brands? How can I help, right? Steve, you're with Jaguar Land Rover, right? And so you're looking at going, okay, this is all great, right? Oh, nice rhetoric. How do I use it? Well, I'm getting down to the brass tacks now, all right? Two fundamental constructs, very easy. Construct A. What is the depth of attachment that your customers have with your brand? What kind of a personal meaning does your brand deliver to them or what they can create with them? Are they willing to be part of the brand tribe? Tribalism is a good way to kind of think about it, right? Is this a brand that I actually cannot really live without? Those are things that are attachments. Very rational, but with an emotional layer that covers it. And then when you look at the bottom, it's very simple. It's the quality, holistic experiences, not marketing experiences alone. Does the product deliver what it needs to deliver? Does it do it consistently? Does the product address my issues? And does the product deal with me empathetically, right? Can I feel passion for the brand, and does the brand share my passion? Just those four core ideas, okay? But if you think about those ideas are fundamental to how you build loyalty. And my last book was about building brand rituals. It's fundamentally about loyalty, but all of us go through this stage, right? We get introduced to a brand either through an accident or through advertising or just because somebody recommends it to us, right? Right, Barry? That's how we get it. We try it first time. There's a transaction, right? So we have the transaction. Now, a lot of brands, a lot of products live in that world of transactional relationship, right? We try it, we use it, but again, it's not, right? I travel a lot, so at airports, I'll go and grab a bite. I'll grab a bite from a couple of the multiple stores, wherever the line is shorter. I just need fuel to survive, right? But then if I like something, I stay with it. I get attracted to it. The attraction deepens. You're kind of giving me stuff surprising until I get to a point where you know what? It's good. It's a habit, right? And it becomes a routine from the habit. And now I like it. I use it consistently until the point I get where I go, geez, I cannot. I'm going to walk out of my way and go do that to get it, which is when suddenly becomes, ooh, I can't actually live without it. Oh, if I can't find it, I'm not going to be very happy. Happens to me everywhere I go if I cannot find a Starbucks, right? I have a lot of choices of getting my coffee from a 7-Eleven, from a convenience store. Yeah, that's a transaction, right? Attraction is, okay, you know what? Maybe there's a cool little latte thing or a latte shop somewhere, okay? Maybe it doesn't build the same level of connection, but for me, I live places where I can find a Starbucks within at least a block and a half, 2 blocks every morning. It doesn't matter where it is, right? I stay at the Starwood group of hotels for one simple reason. They actually have Starbucks in their room. Guess what? I won't stay. I've traded off the Four Seasons in Dublin to stay at the Westin because they have Starbucks in my room. I don't have to go out. I can do my pajama. Otherwise, I'll wake up a little bit earlier, get to my running clothes, go out to Starbucks, have my coffee, come back. It doesn't work, right? So that's what a loyalty is. But to break it down, so you can work at 8 different steps. And if you just think this through, pretty simple. Devoted, unbonded, right? You have clear personal meaning. I will spend more money with you, even though I have a lot of choices of good, great, absolute fantastic products at a cheaper price. Dedicated, there's a meaning, there's a reward for being part of it, trusted as you can get it. I've had lots of experience with you, and you've always delivered. Well, so I trust you, that's why I'm going to use you. I'm accepting, you're accepted. I feel great with you around, it's good, but you know what? I've got other things I could do, which leads us to convenience. You're on the right-hand side of the road. Okay, that's why I just drive by and I pick it up, but you're okay, right? I don't have a personal relationship. Optional is optional. You're one of my options. It's a large enough consideration set. I'll consider other things, Present is you have a lot of presence. And presence is, when you have distribution, when you're available in a lot of places, a lot of people are using you, right? So you can see that happening, but it's not something that you have built any personal meaning in. And passable is, you're passable, right? It's okay. It's like the coffee I have when I go to the train station, right? So if I run late to take my train, I don't have time to stop at my Starbucks, but I still need caffeine. Then I go to this guy who's been there for 25 years, for as long as I've been traveling on the train, and he charges me 25 cents more than I would pay for my venti at Starbucks, but I still buy it for $3, crappy coffee, but I drink it and I'm very, very unhappy by the time I get to work, right? But that's passable, it'll do. Make sense? Now if you look at this, right, we took this idea, we've done this for 3 years, we've done a bunch of research, but just for this conference, we decided to drop in a few leading brands, right? And if you look at it, you go, we got a leading brand in each of its category, and it's top and it's twin, right? So take Coke, Pepsi, Mercedes, BMW, blah, blah, blah. And we tested about 39 of those brands. And here's what we found. There is a direct, clear correlation between the loyalty in the brands and how it goes. Now, if you look at these numbers, I'll go here, right? If you look at these numbers here, these are much higher than you would see if you just did average all brands, right, in general. But if you look at this, on the bonding part, you got 37% of the consumers of these brands that are basically bonded with them to a certain extent. But even in the bonding, you see the distinction, that's how it goes. And if you look at the numbers on the left-hand side, in the blue, if those from a mean of 5 say, how loyal are you to this brand? And so at the devoted level, there's a 4.5, dedicated 4.4. So this is very highly loyal, right? So if you take that data and say, does it really, really make an impact? Is loyalty really important to the business, right? Fred wrote about this a number of years ago and talks about the top 5% of your customers are more valuable, blah, blah, blah. And that's all true if you look at the transaction. What we found here is this is true as well. So on a 10, right, advocacy. Word of mouth, as we know, people recommending brands to other people is really, really powerful. 9.3 for the dedicated out of 10, right? 9, 8.7, and that goes down. Now, the question, if somebody's noticed one anomaly, anybody? Okay, this doesn't go linear, right? Optional is at 6.8 versus presence is at 7.5. So you'd ask, wow, doesn't that exception break your rule? Well, in this case, the exception makes the rule. If you guys want to come in, please feel free. I'm not going to get distracted by anybody walking in front of me. Trust me. But you'll be able to see what I'm talking about instead of trying to answer your text messages and emails, right? No, don't worry. Hey, listen, if I was in the corner, I'd be watching a video. Right? and at this point, if anybody wants to leave, I won't get distracted either, right? Some people are going, what the hell am I doing here? I was here to learn something. Okay, so if you look at optional, the advocacy levels are a little bit lower. And the reason for that is when your brand is at that level and you are in the same comparable set. So for example, right? If you are into QSR and fast food, right? You may eat at a McDonald's, you may eat at a Chipotle, you may eat at an Arby's, you may eat at 5 other, and you like them all to a certain extent because your menu is these different things. That's why you're not going to advocate one brand over the other, and that's why that score goes down. Presence is built around the distribution, number of stores you have, number of shelves you're on, and that presence allows you to be a little bit more confident about offering up your advocacy. So that's why that number is distinct. But then when you add the other aspect of repeat, and this is just top box, right? I wanted to be very rigid. Top box, your devoted people are going to repeat at least 60% of the time. If you add the second box over, that goes up to 97%. And it continues with that same level, right? So loyalty at the top is amazing. So the way, if you look at it, as I share some of other information, look at the top 2 boxes and look at the bottom 2, because I think those will give you a pretty clear idea on how this thing works. Make sense? Okay, so let's play a game. Well, before I play a game, I want to triangulate this data again. 3 years ago, we did another study that basically looked at the top 50 consumer packaged goods brands and looked at the value of their customers. Pareto principle is alive and well, right? top 90% delivered 197% of the profits, okay? Middle 50, break even. Bottom 31 lost the 97% of the profits. So if I am a company X and I make $100 in profit, right? I actually made 197. I lost the bottom 31% loss. Now clients have asked me, if that's true, why don't I just get rid of the bottom 31% and try and make them? Well, you know, it's not that easy with the traditional model of marketing we've all done, right? Because our marketing organizations are built to drive acquisition, to drive trial, to bring in new prospect. All our innovations done to bring in new, more, right? It's okay in developing markets, okay for new brands, but in very developed, mature markets, it's not okay because you no longer have virgin customers. You have customers who've built memory structures. They've got a framework built, and so it's not that easy. So you got to look at the world differently if you really want to drive profitable growth. So having said that, let's ask, how many of you would vote for Walmart as having better value or more loyalty than Amazon? Okay, how many of you think Amazon deserves twice the amount of loyalty that Walmart does? Okay, some, right? Okay, let's see what we learn. So if you start looking at the numbers as they're building up, think about Walmart is passable. Almost 20% of their customers go, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, they have 145 million people that walk through the stores every week, but they say it's okay, right? If you look at the devoted, 4%, but they have a pretty large number of people that are dedicated, right? Because this is a place that they go to. If you look at what it does with Amazon, right? If you start from the bottom again, you know, they've got only 2% that think that's passable, right? And the devoted are 15. So there's almost a 4-time delta between who, you know, how many devoted people. But if you add both the devoted and the dedicated together, if you just left it at a bond, guess what? They're pretty much tied, 28 and 29, right? But the value of the devoted, if you remember, the repeat rate and the value of the loyalty, we built a composite score that took percent of customers in the different loyalty profiles, you know, the level of loyalty that they have per brand, the level of repeat, and the level of advocacy. And we have an algorithm that basically gets you to a composite score. 247 to 189 is a significant composite score, which is why if you look at Walmart's results over the last year or even the last quarter and what Amazon has happened, you know, Walmart's been struggling. Stock value is down, the profitability is down, yada, yada, right? Versus Amazon is now significantly higher value than Walmart. And nobody blinks an eye on that, right? So let's play another game. McDonald's or Mickey D's or Starbucks. How many for Starbucks? Okay. How many for McDonald's? Right. Looks like majority of you are undecided or you don't want to play a game. It's not a trick question.
Sir, BK.
Huh?
BK, Burger King.
Burger King?
Yeah.
Oh boy, Burger King didn't even show up. Just to let you know. But if you like it, you must be one of those devoted people out there. Awesome. Finally, I can go to Burger King and say, somebody finally, I found somebody who proactively said, hear me, I'm going to take your card, okay? No, seriously, I will. Because I'm going to talk to the CM of Burger King. I finally found one. People will tell me about, you know, they talk about Subway, they talk about that, but I'm first Burger King person in the last 7 months. It's awesome. Okay, McDonald's. Do you see what's going on, right? Does it look a little similar in trend to the Walmart data? Almost 21% in passable, right? 6% devoted, but 18% dedicated. If you look at what happens at Starbucks, look at the distinction, right? Look at the devotion and dedication. But here, look at the interesting thing about presence, right? Starbucks has 25% of their drinkers of coffee are going there because it's convenient and it's available and it's, you know, because they're there. They're easy to get to and I can get to any one of those stores. So this is what, you know, and so when we look at brands and we look at the traditional paradigm, we think, yeah, I got a great brand and therefore we're doing what? Yes, you are. And the framework, if you have your 43.5% of the people and the bonding versus, you know, 18 and 6, 24 for McDonald's, that's a huge, huge delta. You got a very powerful brand, Howard. But that brand also has legs because of its presence. Okay? Now the key becomes, can you take those 25 people, Howard, and see if you can get them to move up this ladder, because if you could, Starbucks has going to drive consistent growth, right? And again, when you look at the financial results, McDonald's continues to struggle, and Starbucks continues to deliver obscenely good results. And I, for one, am very, very, very happy, because like I said, without Starbucks, my life would be without meaning. That doesn't over dramatic generalization, but really. I mean, ask any of the people I work with, or my family, if I don't get my Starbucks coffee, I am really, really hard to be around. Not that I'm not hard to be around most days, but that makes me, again, I like them because my stock's doing well. So let's play the final game and then I'll start bringing it home. Apple or Google? Apple. Haha, you're right. Okay, so here's what, right? If you think about Apple, right? Apple, we all know, we've got the devices, we interact with them, they make our life easy. Siri sucks, but you know what? Or maybe it's just my accent, who knows? But at the end of the day, Apple is definitely delivering on every aspect of it. Look at the devoted, look at the dedicated. 50% of people who use Apple, who are Apple customers, love it. They're bonded. No, I am, right? And so that's what it is. Go back. Okay, but if you look at Google, right? I mean, Google for me is interesting. Why doesn't Google have the kind of numbers Apple has? Because Google actually affects us in much better ways, much bigger ways, in a much more all-rounded manner, without us having to give up control, right? With Apple, I give up control. Every time I have to get a new iPod or try to change my music, I would go through like a nightmare, right? Just to be able to do that. And I had to do it for my wife, which was a double nightmare, right? Because new laptop, now how do I get your music from here to here, get it on your iPod? And you figure it out. I'm like, I don't know, right? But that's what it is. Anybody seen the new Google logo? Right? Great. You know why? Why do you think they changed the logo? So, I mean, if you just go back, why?
Because they are separating the companies in function of their activities. It was 1 week or 10 days ago.
Exactly, great. But if you listen to any of my radio interviews on the subject, what you will hear is why Google did it, which is they wanted to bring to life the fact that they are not just a search engine, but that they actually connect you to all the information in the world, but they also connect you with all the video in the world. They allow you to get from one place to another, from the landmark to this place because of the Google Maps, right? They power over 60% of the phones in the world, right? Without them, right? They are just touch your life in an intuitive, easy way, but people don't give them credit, right? Because they are not. You don't feel them, you don't touch them, and after a while you forget. We did some research on the Google logo change. Only 37% of the people actually recognize that those logo change. A week later, right? 73% didn't, even though the little hand came and wiped it out. Because we don't look at that. And especially if you use Google Chrome, right? You just type up in that bar. You never go to the Google page to find it. That's why their new approach, the video that they have, the campaign they're talking about, is to connect with all of that. And I can guarantee you one thing, if they continue consistently next year, they will be all around, okay? So if you look at that, what can we learn from these guys, right? And how can we kind of actually drive this to drive loyalty, right? One, start with a new focus. In developed markets, especially developing markets, a little bit different. Begin with your best customer in mind. It doesn't matter where it is. Begin with your most valuable customers. Why? Because when your most valuable customers are the ones driving all of your profit, they're the ones who are staying with you thick and thin. You are a part of their life. They actually can add value, and then use that information to convert the most attractive prospects. So instead of starting with who does not use me now, who are using my competitors, let me see if I can bring them over, right? Which is what we get asked to do most of the time. So going, who are my best customers? What do they look like? What do they feel like? Why are they using what? Now let me go see if I can find people that look, act, feel, do the same way. I can guarantee you, having done this now for about a decade with clients and companies, it's a much more effective way. But don't take my word on it. Phil Knight and Nike. Nike is one company that has consistently delivered financial results as their brand continues to grow stronger year over year. Why? All of their innovation is completely maniacally focused on their customers. on people who buy, use, and love their products, including when they developed all of the technology for the Nike Plus, for the fuel bands, right? The technology around Fitbits, all of that they created around the fact that I have people who will only use Nike, and so let me give them things in different ways to integrate with Nike and become much more effective. Smartest move they made was about 4 months ago when they shut down the entire operating group that was in the device making business and wrote an 8-year strategic partnership with Apple saying, we will build the insights, we will build the kind of context, we will use our customer data to provide the value. Apple, you know how to build devices and gadgets, you go build it. And that's our partnership. This watch has a Nike thing, so I don't have to have multiple. I used to wear a Fitbit, I used to have a watch. Right now I can do it all in here, and Nike powers it. And I'm furthest away from being an athlete on anybody else. Part of the reason why Nike continues to succeed. Adidas is a fantastic company, great brand, right? Great products. But this is why Nike continues to keep a lead on Adidas, and it's got. Second thing is the new approach. We all grew up in the awareness and desire world, right? I mean, we talk about that. That was good when you had non-virgin customers. You had to kind of first make them aware, then you got to get them interested, then get them desire. The key thing now is, your customers know a lot, and if they don't know enough, you can actually go online and learn as much as you want, right? I wanted to buy, I wanted to learn more about shower curtain, right? So I could buy a shower curtain for our downstairs. We have a bathroom in our basement because when our kids have friends over, then they all sleep down there, they use it, right? I don't know what those kids do, but needed a shower curtain 6 months after the old one, right? Well, in the old days, I'd go to a Bed Bath & Beyond, or I'd go to, one of the stores, try and find something that matched. Well, I said, you know what? Why? So I go to my favorite shopping place. Guess what? Amazon. 699,995 shower curtain options. I'm like, oh boy. Right? Now they have all of the ways to kind of filter it. After every filter, Steve, guess how many I got? 4,012. I'm like, awesome. Wow, 3 minutes of clicking and I'm down to 4,000 from 700,000. Well, I finally found one. It showed up the next day, right? And it actually looked really good. And my wife goes, honey, when did you have time to go shop for a shower curtain? This is true, it's not a commercial. True. I go, yesterday. I thought you were at work. Yeah, I was playing hooky for 10 minutes, right? Which is we all do that, right? So in any case, but the key thing is, instead of thinking about that, the fundamental way you want to think about your customers today is trust, respect, and loyalty. You have customers who are smart. David Ogilvy said this in 1968 when he said, don't treat your customer like a moron because she's your wife. And that's absolutely true. She's smart, she knows enough, she does her research, she's fair, she can be unbelievably loyal if you treat her well. But you have to treat her well. And how do you treat your customers well? Exhibit the loyalty to them that you would expect to get from them. Earn their respect, earn their trust, right? And one of the companies that managed to do that is Allstate. Allstate Insurance, 104-year-old company, struggling, decided to play the price wars against the Geicos and the Progressives. Well, guess what happened? What happened was they weren't succeeding because there's just no way they can compete on that paradigm. One of the projects we did was, part of the problem you guys have was you're trying to bring in new customers that just want price, okay? Your customer base is built on people who want value. Your attrition rate is 27% because, and I said, I'm your customer, right? 10 years, I've been paying you thousands of dollars in premium, over maybe 50 to 60,000 over 10 years. I had an accident and you doubled my premium. Why the hell should I stay with you? There you go. Good question. I'm like, did you guys know this stuff? Most clients don't, by the way, right? They don't ask the obvious questions. Well, when we went back and talked to the customers, that was the pain point. They didn't believe that this guy's cared. I give you so much, I give you my money, right? And you basically smack me around when I need it. That's why we created a program which was accident forgiveness. if you haven't had an accident in the last 3 years, we'll we'll forgive that. Your premium won't change. New car guarantee. If your car gets totaled in the first 6 months of you owning it, we'll buy you a new car. Blah 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 blah. And this is what we reinvented the category. They basically attrition went down from 27% to 5%, which was $1 billion of impact. I'm going to take 2.5. Okay, thanks. Which is why, if you look at what happened with Allstate, which was dying against Geico, we have brand tracking study results from a decade ago, and even 5 years ago. Now look at Allstate's value. Stock price has been up consistently over the last 5 years, right? And they've been able to raise, but more importantly, they've been able to take the insurance customers, property and casualty, into financial planning and all of that, and they've added over $1.8 billion in those values. New mindset. We grew up in a world where we built companies to last, ideas to last, campaigns to last. In today's world, just basically build yourselves to evolve. It doesn't matter what you were doing, you have to find a better, faster way to do it. Jeff Bezos knows how to do it. That's why he created a retail store, but he's taken the asset, which is the relationships he owns with customers, and then basically built it across every dimension he can to solve their problems. And to do that, you need a new model, right? You can't think about the old world. Hey, I need another new big product that I have to build with a huge capital expenditure, da-da-da. If you're a brand with infrastructure, you got to think about it differently. Forrester did a model which said, which is a little bit different than this, but I used that as an inspiration. But you got to think about your innovation strategy. At least half of your innovation dollars should go towards building a model that's 1/10 the cost, 10 times the value, so that you can get 100 times the impact. If it works, keep chasing it. If it doesn't, drive it, right? UPS is one of those examples. Company is 106 years old. Basically did this with, My Choice program, which is for small business customers, right? Very simple, which is, as small businesses, you're not sitting in one place. And so it's really a waste of your time sitting waiting between the 8 and 10 window for a UPS guy to come deliver the package you're desperately waiting for. With My Choice, they said, hey, here's the deal. Register for it, and then you can change where you want the package delivered, right? Da-da-da. And then they gave an option for $40 a year more, right? You can do all of this for free, and we'll actually work around you in every way, shape, or form. 11 million people signed up, $3.6 billion of impact to them, incremental, positive, right? It's great, which is why, again, in a dogfight between the two core brands, they continue to hold their ground and get that going. Finally, new equation, right? Values. Make sure your brand has values, your customers bond when their values align with the brand values, but it has to be done with authenticity. You can't just become, when the whole environmental thing was going on, sustainability, everybody wanted to greenwash. Hey, I am very sensitive to environment, really, don't BS. So I'm just going to use an interesting example because you guys have an election coming up, right? We have an election coming up. So talking about brands, let's talk about, brands. Republicans, at this point in time, defined by the Donald, right? And that's him in full form. And the Democrats, right now, defined by Hillary, right? So if you think about these two brands playing against a very, very violently possessive crowd of Democrats and Republicans in our country out there, what do you have? Does it look like there's going to be another term for Democrats? Or does it feel like Donald will win? It seems like we're going to have another term of Democrats. And I think we may be in line, if nothing else goes wrong, to have the first woman president of the United States of America. And that'll be a great day. Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Only the women just went, yes. Okay, if you do this right, the outcome you should expect, a highly bonded brand, huge financial success. It's not a concept, an idea. It is actually the fact that this is absolutely going to happen. But it's your choice. One of the things, as Edward Deming said, not necessary to change, survival is not mandatory, right? That's what happened. You don't want to evolve? Great. Your choice. I think most of the people get, some of these principles get brought to life in my new book. Pre-orders start next week on Amazon. Please go sign up, okay? And some of the principles I pulled in from the old book, which I think we're going to offer up with signed copies if anybody's interested. And, I'm available for questions. I know I ran over by about 2.5 minutes, and my apologies for that. But, hopefully if anybody has any questions, I'll be outside for a while, and then I'll be joining here because I'm going to listen to some of the other folks that have got great things to share. Make sense? Thank you.